Hey,
breaking
what's
up
up?
or you got a decent signal? What's up, mate?
So it's very nice you guys to join me on my way. Thank you very much. Oh, you open.
Boom. All right, so we are live.
Oh,
All
really?
right. Yep, we are live now.
All right, I don't know how long I can hang out because I'm actually still working, but
All right. Well, in that case, flat Earth, go. No, I'm just playing.
jeez. That came up on my last stream. I was just like, whatevs.
Good show.
No, we're gonna be talking about all sorts of stuff tonight. I've just been engaged in a certain conversation for the past 48 hours,
Oh,
and
jeez.
it's interesting. It's very very interesting.
I have to work tomorrow. I might.
What's that?
I have to work tomorrow. Real early, so I might.
So you might go bye bye. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang out for a few minutes, but I'm just telling you, I probably won't stay.
Oh, that's okay. I understand. Let me
Gotcha.
invite Charles back because he just missed the call.
Do-
And there we go. And there we go. Alrighty. So
on YouTube.
hello, Charles.
Hello.
So Ian asked the question, who would bring up flat Earth? And my answer to that is, I guess I would. But that's not the primary. That's not the primary topic of tonight. The primary topic.
I talked about it on Bible study.
You talked about flat in one of your Bible studies.
Yeah, the one this morning called Truman Show.
Oh, I haven't seen today's yet.
It was actually
The True Man Show?
Wow.
more about Robert Pearson was commenting all over it. It's actually it was more about the whether the dome in the Truman Show was like the devil's dome or God's dome. It's really it was because it was more about the morality of. I was talking about how if you escape mental prisons, eventually you encounter Satan himself, not a lesser demons. You know what I mean? Because there's like a finite amount of. Eventually, if you escape all these ones, all these little domes, you encounter Satan, and then what he tries to get you to do is continue to escape. And he makes you prideful and want to get firmament. Because I was watching the Truman Show, and it made me literally want to I was thinking about want to get out of the firmament.
Okay.
And so it was an interesting mental thing going on. And I went into looking into the temptation of Christ in the wilderness, and I was talking about other fallen angels and this hierarchy of slavery that goes on. Yeah, it was a really fun Bible study. But it wasn't about is it flat Earth or not a flat Earth. It was about that was just kind of assumed as true, and it was about the mental game that the demons are playing, because that's what it always comes down to. Like C.S. Lewis talked about that it's all about what the spiritual battle. War here can be good or evil. It doesn't really affect things spiritually. You know what I mean? You go to heaven and go to hell. Whether or not there's a war between England and Germany, doesn't change it. Anyway, just a thought, or a few of them in rapid. Yeah.
Shotgun blast of fire. You were chewing your cud there, dude.
Wow. Chewing the cud.
It's actually a cough drop.
Is it? It
Yeah.
sounds like a big league chew. Big
Nope.
old wad.
Hear me if other people.
Well,
I said he would be biblically clean to cannibalize and eat, and then I asked because I realized there's another. Do you have a split hoof, Chuck?
oh my
side?
gosh.
Oh, jeez.
The man that walks on his ears.
Yeah. No, it's not split though. It's just a big hole. I stretched that one too far when I was gauging my ears, and it won't close.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a bummer. My other one closed up just fine because I stretched it at a normal pace, so it healed correctly and was able to just shrink back down to its normal size. But my other one, I stretched it way too fast, and now it's just a giant scar.
Okay, so the primary motivation for tonight's title, Deception Inception, has to do with the programming that is behind all the messaging that we get, whether it's Disney.
Oh, Inception?
What's that?
Are we talking about Inception? That's the next.
Deception Inception was Charles's idea for tonight's title and topic. We both, and I don't know who else here has seen it yet, but we both had watched probably Alexandra's video. I don't know if you've even heard anything about it all, Nate. But have you heard anything about probably Alexandra's channel?
No.
Okay.
That sounds very easily. Like, it takes a lot of persuasion. I listened to Fred Bear, but for a while I wouldn't tell.
To who?
So who's probably Alexandra? Tourette's Bear?
Oh, okay, gotcha. A very interesting couple of videos that this person has done. They've devoted their time to research, and it's very interesting and all about deception and programming.
Her channel has been all over my Torah studying Facebook group that I'm a part of.
Yeah, I believe it.
Has just been lambasted on there. Like, everybody's on there that's like, she's a witch and all this other stuff. Like, it's crazy.
I don't know what their criticism would be exactly, but that's interesting.
Oh, I tore into a bunch of them for it. I was just like, okay, like, if that's how you guys want to see this, like, 90% of the things that you guys consume and put on here, she mirrors. Like, I don't understand what your complaint is. I mean, I personally don't agree with her conclusions on a lot of scripture, but I can understand how she came to those conclusions.
Yeah. Well, sorry, what?
One more time, Nate. I still didn't catch it.
I said women shouldn't teach scripture. It's not healthy.
Would you say that she's devoting herself to teaching scripture, Charles?
No, she's using scripture and
to justify some beliefs that she has about social commentary and the world and deception in the world.
Okay, so what's the controversial thing that she says? Like, what's the specific?
Well, one of the things is that the two beasts of Revelation are basically the Illuminists, and the other one is which would be like the light side of
the yin and yang. The yin and yang.
Yeah, it's the light and dark side of the controlling forces of this world. One of them says that they're light, even though they're obviously not.
The false light.
It's basically to fool people into believing that they're the good guys. Like, in America, it would be the quote unquote Republicans, and the Democrats would represent the dark political figures.
Hypothetically, but
that's not even as deep as it would go. But just like as an example. Like she would say that there are the light and dark sides, and that the dark side has been in power for a really long time, the Illuminists, and that the underground cabal, the basically Luciferians, are the first beast.
I thought there was one beast. Is there only one?
There's a beast and there's a dragon. There's two different creatures, and there's also, huh?
Also a prophet.
Man, I can't. Can you guys hear?
I can barely make out what Nate's saying.
You're breaking up a lot, Nate.
All right. Well, what are we gonna do? I mean, all right. Well, maybe I should. Maybe, but I had a lot of fun. So I'll just get into the chat. I'll be in the chat.
All right.
All right. See ya.
Well, Cold as Ice gave that a thumbs up. So he had asked the question, what else controversial did she say? And obviously one of those controversial things was that she does conclude politically and biblically that the earth is not a globe, which, you know, I always find interesting. I like to find out why people believe what they believe and all of that. So I actually spent the last 2 days, so all of Thursday and all of Friday, all in all about 17 hours probably, in the Flat Earth Discord channel. And listen
So that's why you're so quiet.
Yeah, and I listened to them converse with each other, and then converse with different trolls that would pop in, and then converse with people, different walks of life. Like there was an airplane pilot, for instance, that they spoke to for a couple of hours. Folks that were globe skeptics, folks that were globe believers, people that were flat skeptics, and people that were flat believers, and all that stuff. And anyway, it was interesting. And yes, there's a 24-hour Flat Earth Discord, 24 hours straight. In fact, for those of you that are on YouTube watching this right now, if Charles, you can't see this on YouTube, or can you?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I got it pulled up.
So let's see here. I'm just double checking that there's not anything really weird. They keep it pretty PG, except the Brits really love to use profanity. I've noticed. So I'm just scooting that over into the live stream you guys see. It's a 24/7 Flat Earth Discord, and there's an invite if you go to the YouTube channel that it corresponds with. So it's interesting. Lots of different people in there, but
I don't know why, but it's not switching between our faces at all. It's just stuck on me.
Oh, well, I click you and then I can unclick you. It's not switching because it won't go to my face unless I click on my face, like that right there. But Jeremy is muting himself, and every time he mutes himself, it goes to his face, or he turns off his camera, and then it won't switch to him because he's not making any noise, basically. So I will share a couple of different things throughout the scope of this evening. What's
I was
up?
making a bunch of racket, so I muted myself.
That's fine. So just to get a little preview, guys, I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen for a second and share this with you. That means I won't be able to see Charles, or nobody will be able to see Charles or Jeremy. So this is a panoramic picture. In fact, let me go ahead and turn off the chat box just temporarily. Okay, so you guys can see. This is a panoramic photo taken from the top of a mountain. Those of you with good Google skills are going to be able to find out exactly where this is in a moment. I can't remember what country they were talking about. I believe it was somewhere in Europe. So this photo was taken on top of a mountain, and the distance to the other mountains across this water body was allegedly 250 to 270 miles, depending on what portion. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And according to their math, according to the math that they were sharing, there should be 3 miles of curve obstruction between point A and point B, with the height of which they took the photo factored in. From sea level, there should be 6.5 miles of obstruction, and from the mountaintop, allegedly, according to the mathematical equation that seemed to check out with other websites I've seen, allegedly. And they said, how is it? And I'll go ahead and scroll from left to right here. And this is like a 90 meg picture. And if they were under the impression that this photo has been stitched, that it's a combination of multiple photos. And if that's the case, I don't understand how that's done exactly. I mean, I do and I don't. Apparently, all the globe pictures are also stitched, but I don't know. But anyway, as you
So
scan
their
across,
premise was that this is incorrect because it's been stitched.
no, their premise was because you can see the bottom and the top of these mountains, that it's illogical because there should be, in this region right here, there should be obstruction like crazy based on the distance. 3 miles of obstruction based on the bulge of the curve of the Earth, even with the height of which the photo was taken into account. So there's zoomed out and then zoomed in. Mount Puget, and these are obviously somewhere in Europe with all these French mountains and stuff. I just can't remember. So then it starts to get really blurry and weird and awkward over here. And I was like, so you guys are basically saying that if they had the technology and capability that they could zoom in and see the base of this mountain as well? Is that what you guys are telling me? And they're like, basically, if the conditions were suitable, then yes, it would be no different than how they've been able to zoom in all these other. And there's other examples, such as this one. These are like buildings. They look like rocks. They look like little rocks, but they're actually buildings. Like that's a boat. These are buildings, and didn't mean to do that. Hold shift.
Yeah, I see what you mean, though. Yeah.
So these are, the distance is extreme. Let me get this out of the way, get you guys' face back on there, and then I saved a couple other photos they were sharing today, and I was like, these are interesting. I mean, it is fascinating. But then
Jeremy said he's just gonna listen on YouTube while he works for now.
Oh, okay, well, I got you. He's like, flat. So then there was this one, also taken from that mountaintop. Now, this was the photo that actually confused me a little bit, because as they're pointing out, these different buildings that you can, whoops, nope,
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
I
it's pretty visible from YouTube though.
I didn't mean to go all over through my picture folder. Now you guys know some secrets. I'm just kidding. I'm sharing some of that stuff tonight anyway. But I think that I'm just in a different program.
So
But,
the outs like just from an outside looking in perspective, it
Yeah.
seems like the major difference in this picture is you can actually see the elevation changes fairly well.
Here's the problem. And this confused them too, but then it didn't really confuse me because I have different hypotheses because I come from a different premise. I come from
Right.
the alleged programmed premise, the false premise, hypothetically, that the world is a globe. So they said it didn't. They didn't understand quite how the picture was taken not from this height. The picture was taken from this height up here, but like 250 miles away. And why is it in black and white? Because this picture was taken with infrared. It was an infrared photo because those bands are clearer and less distorted than the full spectrum photo or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a super photographer kind of guy or anything, but whatever. So
Makes sense.
here's the
Sure.
thing. The photo was, you guys see my mouse way up here. So the height of this peak right here is the same height that this photo was taken at. And they're like, they didn't quite understand. They thought, well, maybe it's just because they angled downwards, right? And that's why, but they're like, how come it looks like almost like you're taking the picture from just the random spot in the lake? Well, here's the thing. They keep on talking about how the mountains should be pointed away from them. And the way that this looks like to me is actually that it does look like the mountain is pointed away. And that if the mountain is so far away that you still could see the base, but you also see the point as if it's not perpendicular to you, but rather angled away from you. That's just kind of where my brain went with that. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I mean that the other side of it is it honestly could just be an optical illusion that's created by the infrared. I'm not a photographer either, so that could be just pure conjecture on my part. I don't have any idea.
Yeah.
It is interesting to say the least, though. Like it definitely is an odd photograph.
And here's another one. This is the last one I'll share, just to give you more perspective as to where this photo was taken, just so you're not, those photos were taken in the middle of a lake. Just to give you some perspective, this is like a lighthouse or something super far away. I mean, you can tell just based on, I think that these are like,
oh my goodness,
oil boats or something, but that's a lighthouse there. There's a boat you see, but that's in the foreground. Let me zoom back out. That's in the foreground of this photo, and it's still super far away, right? So then you have, and I mean,
wow, that does lend a neat perspective to it.
I haven't looked this up. This location.
It looks like it's just like a hill of dirt in front of the camera. Like that's what it looks like from the perspective.
Exactly. So they're up high, but
yeah, they're way high, like real high.
And like I said, in a line, vertically in line with about the peak here. So that's what makes
that one picture then has to be like incredibly zoomed in.
Well, yeah.
Like so, they must be putting their camera like on max zoom for that one picture.
Yeah, because they're capturing this section here in much greater clarity. There's quite a few of these pictures, and I saved several of them because I find them fascinating.
Because in those ones, the mountains don't appear to be leaning away at all, but in that other one,
exactly.
Like it's like it almost like it's almost like zooming in creates that effect, which is it seems contrary to what you would think, in that if you backed out, it should create the effect. Whereas if you zoomed in, it should create the opposite effect of looking flat.
Yeah.
Which is just plain odd. A really neat series of photos.
Yep. I thought it was pretty cool. There's a website called, I guess I already saved this one, but I'll save it again. What is this website? It is klape.fr. It is not a website that has any specific ideology at all, because this is pictures that they took of the moon and apparently Mercury, and they're so high up there above the cloud line. So this website has some really beautiful photos. There's that one, and then they have all types of like star pictures as well. The Andromeda Galaxy, and which is the galaxy I think that we use to pretend is the Milky Way, if I'm maybe not mistaken. Maybe not. I don't know. It's all in French, this website. And yeah, I'm not going to try and navigate this website right now, but some interesting stuff. It's kind of interesting. But let's move on to the more readily available theme to the masses, and that would be programming.
Social programming.
I'm going to pull up photos and share them that most of you have probably seen. I assume almost all of you have seen this kind of stuff, but we'll zoom in on some of these photos, and let's see what the center of this one is. The Bilderberg Group. Maybe you're familiar with all of these connections to the Bilderberg Group. You've got all these people, from Harold Ford to I don't know who Harold Ford is. I actually don't know who any of these people are. Marshall Cohen, I don't know. Feinstein, there's George Soros. And Melinda Gates. We know those names.
It's really funny that these people are probably all either billionaires or close to it, but how many of those names do you know?
Oh, I know. But then you've got the connections and all this is just an interesting thing. Well, why is this interesting? Trump is connected in all sorts of different ways. Here's the Skull and Bone Society, and it shows that Columbia University is directly correlated to, which makes sense. It's in New York, but Princeton directly related to. There's a Rockefeller University. I actually didn't know that. How could you not? How could you not?
Well, Columbia and Princeton Princeton is where the Skull and Bones Society originated, but then they also have a chapter in Columbia.
The Manpower is a staffing agency, and then you all know all these companies, obviously, all the way down to Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, and then you've got the President of the United States, blah, 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 blah. Is he in the list? I don't know, but this is just a weird chart that somebody did on the Bilderberg Group. And it's just so big, and it was pretty to look at, so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Now, here's one of the big things going on right now. Disney just released Disney Plus. I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to talk about it because I figure that that's a pretty good way. I'm just kidding. No, I really don't actually know anything about it, except for they bragged about getting 10 million subscribers in their first day. First day release,
which
which
did have a huge effect on their servers.
Yeah, I bet it did. But now I get a text from Verizon telling me that I have an opportunity to have Disney Plus for free because of my Verizon account. And I said, want to be a member? Want to be a member? No. That's what I said. I said no. Aren't all Discords 24/7? Thanks, Nate. Appreciate that. Except for the fact that the Discord for the flat Earth guys really is like there's somebody there all the time, all the time.
Intoxicating masculinity just said. Typical YouTuber talking about stuff that he doesn't know.
I know. So sad. So sad. But anyway, again, with the giving stuff away for free, I just find that yeah, find that interesting. All right, so let's go with this picture. Here's an educational map. You guys want to understand the structure. So this is all just warming you guys up to some of the topics tonight and how it's all connected. So you've got the Shriners, you've got the here, I'll give it a little zoomy zoom. I don't even know, Aeons. That's probably an acronym, I guess. But you've got the Grotto, the Tall Cedars of Lebanon. I thought that was a weird title. There was the word Shriner somewhere. It's not just the hat. I thought I saw the word Shriner somewhere, but there's the hat in the hat. Not the cat in the hat, but now then you've got a spirally triangle, which some of you might be familiar with the spiral triangle boy lover symbol. The Royal Master gets that. Now it doesn't curve in, so it might be a loose accusation. So, Charles, do you remember the name of the G? What everybody in America would say the G stands for, but what it actually stands for?
Oh yeah, everybody in America would say that the G stands for God, or they would say that it stands for what was the other one? Like most people say it stands for God or good.
This says the structure of Freemasonry in the U.S. The G stands for God.
Yeah, but it actually stands for Gadriel.
Gadriel, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
What's up, Robert Peterson? Nice to have you here.
Robert, what is going? I did invite him. I invite him almost every time, but he just ignores me and then goes on to make epic YouTube videos about epic things and does his cool thing. It's fine. Everything is fine. Here's one of the things I thought was fascinating, Charles. You see this word right here?
Which one? What are you pointing at here?
Oh,
there you go. Now I see it.
Yeah, there's a delay on the YouTube.
Oh yeah, the Noahites. Yeah.
Well, I thought that it was weird that Patriarch Noahite was a level of Masonry and a low level, the 21st. I mean, there's a lot that happens after you get to there's even a bunch more that happens after you get to 33rd degree. And apparently there's a backdoor path. I thought that was kind of interesting. That there's this.
Oh yeah, you go through the Knights. Oh wow, that's cool.
So there's the Scottish Rite, but then there's the York Rite, where you go to Mark Master, Virtual, Past Master, Most Excellent Master, Royal Archmason, and then Order of the Red Cross. That's not strange that they would use Red Cross at all. Order of the Knights of Malta, and then Order of the Knights Templar. And that's at the same level as the Sovereign Grand Inspector General. Now, here's the big question. What does breaking through the sky towards heaven, what does this represent? And what are the Masons building? Who are the Masons? Does anybody know the answer? What are they?
I mean, I know what the answer is. I'm just gonna go ahead.
We'll let the chat answer. And here's the really fascinating thing is people think of Freemasonry as having so much to do with Christians and or the church, but it's very very clear that that's not the case. And if you know the history of where it started, then you will know that what it's actually related to. My life conspires to keep me from you guys. I get it, man. I get it. No answers. So I'll give you the. We'll start with Bab. We'll start with Bab.
I'm gonna go. The second word is L.
Second syllable would be.
Nah, it's a word. It's a word.
Well, it is a word. Good point. Thank you. Touche. That was
You're welcome.
That was a good touche.
What does L mean?
God.
Oh, what do you know?
Yeah.
I wonder what the prefix Bab means then.
Does it mean build or tower?
Build to God, Tower of God. Bab El. I've seen it like hyphenated before, so I wonder. Interesting.
We're
not hinting at it at all, Robert. We're flat out saying it.
It'd be a Tower of Babel, guys. That's where Freemasonry began. The people, the Masons that built the Tower of Babel are the exact same people that are part of Freemasonry today. It's the same people. They never stopped trying. But God confused their languages. That doesn't mean they didn't have evidence that something happened, and there were a couple of people, just because he didn't erase their memories, he just confused their language. And they've been writing magic.
Robert asked if we were hinting at Zohar and Kabbalah. I said, "Oh, we're not hinting at it. We're flat out saying it."
Well, that's all part of the same. It's all part of
the same club. Yeah.
Gate. So the Bab part would be
the gate of God.
Gate. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, that actually. Oh man, that actually would make sense because, like Jesus said, he who enters at the narrow gate versus the wide gate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Babel would be the wide gate.
Sure would. Mostly because of the programming, and I'm wondering. I need to put the camera on you because I think I just showed off. We're looking at the bottom of Charles's chin right now. That's what's happening. Just so you guys know, we are going to be looking at Charles's chin for a moment. You muted yourself just for the record. All right. So we're at 8 viewers. Did they found NASA? That's a good question. Partial yes on that, actually.
Sorry about that. I had a brief conversation with my
it's fine.
youthful son.
Oh yeah. So Intoxicating asked, did they found NASA? And I'll go back in the chat. I know I missed a ton of comments. I apologize about that.
No, they didn't found NASA. The Nazis founded NASA.
I was going to mention that, but
we'll get there. We'll get there.
But what team were they on? Were they part of the Luciferian team, or were they part of the Satanic team?
That again would depend on how far you think the inception of deception goes.
Well, and that is why Gadriel means God Mason.
Yeah, it means Mason of God. Yeah.
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 Which is very strange, actually, when you consider the purpose of the Tower of Babel was to make their way to God, to go to war with him. That was the original purpose. And for the word, it's just about how much of the truth is right there. They're not even lying about so much stuff.
He's not wrong. He said German sounds a lot like babbling.
Am Anfang schuf Gott Himmel. That's just the first couple of words of Genesis 1. I don't know much else.
I know like 4 words in German. None of them are able to be said on YouTube.
I got you. Well, great, busy. How you doing, Nate? Crushing everything. Nate has crushed everything. That sounds dangerous. I'm just going back in the chat. Married and getting in a pickup truck. Okay. There's a typo there, I guess.
Robert's been doing some pretty deep research here.
Oh, good.
Bringing up some good questions.
Good. I love questions. That's what I've been asking for the last 48 hours. Is lots of questions. Me and is in a gemstone prison or a tent of bed sheets. I'm in an attic with a photo drop cloth as my background instead of empty wood roof
Hey, switch back to you so they can see what you're talking about.
Roof rafters. It's a photo drop cloth. I mean, you guys should know that by. But before, you guys saw, if you watched any of my older videos, you would have seen you would have seen that it's roof rafters, and I covered it up because I did anyway. It's all good. I'm just trying to use what I have to enhance the professionalness of this incredible YouTube channel that
make it look like you're living in tents.
I wanted to look a little like a little Osama bin Laden-y, like I was in a cave in Afghanistan, basically. That's what it makes me think of. But anyway, it is warm up here, by the way. We got 75.5. I'm a little, well, I did just drink a warm drink. That doesn't help. But anyway, but I said no because Chuck is rich and from his vanquished enemies. I don't understand that. And Chuck obviously constructed the prison. Well, he didn't actually construct this portion of the 130-year-old house, but something like that, Nate. You're close. Okay, typical blah blah blah. Apparently there's a given watchers Bitcoin. So not only are they doing it for free, but they're trying to pay people Bitcoin for watching pornography. Not surprised at all. But it's only because they would be mining. They're only going to give you a tiny portion of what they're making off of you, not just in robbing you of your soul, metaphorically speaking, and almost literally. But they're just mining your computer and killing your electric bill and all that good stuff, and using your graphics card, and then they're giving you a tiny cut. I mean, well, lots of websites do that. Blah blah blah, insulating an attic while I listen. Well, that's a good thing to do. Except in Florida, I mean, why do you even need insulation in Florida? Seriously? I'm kidding. It does only get down to like 22 degrees, and where he lives, it probably only gets down to like 31 degrees, like ever. Did they found Gabriel? Right, but German sounds the to assault the gates of heaven. Project Fishbowl. Anyone? I actually am unfamiliar with that title.
Oh, you don't know about Project Fishbowl?
I don't know that one. Is that the nuke at the dome
high
thing?
altitude nuclear tests.
Okay, gotcha. And they name it that
Project Fishbowl, and it's really funny because the overarching project was called Project Dominic, and Dominic means of the Lord, so it was the Project Fishbowl of the Lord, which is really funny.
But what's the first 3 letters of Dominic?
Dom.
Yeah.
D-O-M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As in missing 1 letter. Dome, Dome.
Yeah.
I I was listening to John Kostick. He breaks down the first line of the Bible in Hebrew. Barashit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Oh, you didn't put that in there. I'm sorry. He believes that it talks about Jesus. Yeah, I know. I've heard that. I think that that's a little Kabbalistic, actually. But though it's all about the word Bereshit. But the word is such a generic word. I find it incredibly coincidental that you could take the
Mm.
Phoenician symbols, and that's the thing. The Bible wasn't written in Phoenician, so I find it just a loose coincidence that you could make a story of Jesus from the word Bereshit, which, yes, it's the first word of the Bible, but I find it a little on the Kabbalah side because it's so loose. Now, if you were talking about, well, the name of God, for instance, has been used also, um, about the hammer and the nail, YHVH. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Uh,
Behold hand, behold nail.
yeah, there you go. Thank you. But dome in ice. That's right. Dome in ice. Dominic.
Dominic also means of the Lord, which is really just too funny.
Yeah,
They named their operation Fishbowl of the Lord.
yeah. That's weird.
If they're not wanting people to be conspiracy theorists, they're not helping at all.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
Ian Bear Pig, are you? I thought you lived in America. How could you? We celebrated the bicentennial of America in 1976. How,
in
100,
1776.
in 1890 was after the Civil War. What do you mean 130 years old? That's as old as America. Now, on the other hand, I did do some little big math, big brain action, and I was like, the trees that were cut down to build this house actually could be even older than America. If you think about it, the trees could have been 120, 150 years old that were used to build this house, because these were first in 1890 in this area of the country. They were first growth trees, or within reason.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought it was kind of cool. The wood that you can't see, but the wood it could be over 200 years old, as in when it was planted or whatever, fell on the ground and grew. You guys know what I'm talking about. Give me a break. All right. Christmas Asherah poles.
Astra.
Thank you.
I knew what he was getting at.
I just share what the Lord gives me a little bit. Just learning. I don't think you're right. Oh, Ian Bearpig, do you have a conspiracy about the actual age of America being less than 250 years? Or 240, whatever, for 244 years? What are you trying to tell me? What is going on?
Oh, he's saying the houses built with old growth, I'm sure, are stronger than what's getting used to build houses with today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the house that he's sitting in right now was built in 1890.
Yeah. I don't think you're right. Yeah, I am saying that there. You got me all confubbled. I don't even know what's happening in this universe with that, Ian. It's all good though. Let's see what else here.
He said he was just being absurd. We don't need to get into any fake conspiracies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that. All right, so how deep does the programming go? Well, here's an example. You are here. You are here. Right next to the sheep. Do you like that? And then the media controls the elite's message to the masses. Status quo in America, education. Secret Service, police, military, courts, prisons, world population control, and then
I
corporations.
thought it was interesting too. And one of the things that I've never thought about is the same people that own the media are the people that own the prisons.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that was a fact that struck me as odd. And I actually did a little bit of fact checking into that, and that is weird.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had no idea that the investment firms that controlled the prisons were on the verge of trillion-dollar. I had no idea of the actual amount of money behind it. Hundreds of billions of dollars. You don't hear about these investment firms that are have stake in the prisons. You never hear their names. They're completely sheltered. It's crazy.
It was Robert Pearson. The British expedition to Antarctica that went the furthest south was called Project Nimrod, and it was led by Admiral Byrd.
But that's the same dude that went to the North Pole then, huh?
Correct.
So what was that guy's deal? Why was he so
He was like real life Indiana Jones, man.
Oh, okay.
Like that dude was crazy.
Okay.
He was an admiral, and he had a whole fleet.
So here's that
and
name.
When he went to go the crazy part is he went to go explore Antarctica the first time, and he came back and he asked for a literal battleship fleet to go back, and they gave it to him. And they took massive casualties. Like recorded history. It's crazy. Like look into some of that stuff. Admiral Byrd's adventures in Antarctica. You're gonna have to dig pretty deep because they bury a lot of it, but that dude was nuts. And the stuff he wrote about the North Pole was like a Jules Verne novel. And I remind you that this dude was a decorated, highly respected military admiral.
Yeah.
And it was insane. So
I hear you. I'll have to look some of that stuff up. I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
it can only go so fast.
In time. Yeah.
But look at this. We've got the Bilderberg group up here, up underneath think tanks, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the United Nations all together, and then powerful subfamilies, and then you've got the Committee of 300, the world's richest, most powerful subfamilies, and then you have the world's richest and most powerful families, and then I actually can't really read that. Something of Committee of 13, I think, something along those lines. But this is just a fascinating little chart that kind of shows the order of things, and pretty much everybody you know exists somewhere in here, unless you just happen to know somebody in the United Nations, or if you know an IRS or Federal Reserve employee. That employee actually would, just because they work there doesn't mean that they're up there. So there's that. And we've got this.
We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that, Robert Pearson. Yeah, for sure.
Still at level 1, bro. All right.
He said Satan was at the top.
So then this is Kabbalah, guys. A lot of people are really excited. The dude that I interviewed, and I don't know if he watches my YouTube videos on a regular basis or at all. I have a feeling he doesn't have any interest in learning anything about. Oh, here, let me show you this. This is what you all were asking about with the Bereshit thing. It just, I don't like it. It's a little too word magic-y for me. But
oh, that's that Paleo Hebrew stuff.
Yeah, these are Phoenician symbols. Actually, they might even be older than Phoenician, but no, this is Phoenician stuff. Pretty certain. But anyway, I get it. I think it's a coincidence. But this matches a lot of other charts. I'm trying to gather a collection of, because this matches the chakra thing. This matches. There are
Oh
globally.
yeah, that what do they call it? They call it the
They call it the tree of
oh
life. This is
well that's one of the names, but there's what are they? It's like it's sacred geometry. There we go.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, whatever the case, this is repeated in paganism. This is repeated in Satanism. This is repeated in Hinduism. Um, I don't know about Buddhism. That's a little different. So that is really, and look, Kabbalah is the Hebrew word meaning to receive inner
And
wisdom.
interestingly enough,
Okay, hold on, just a second. I don't mean to.
no, you're good. You're good.
I have a really important point about this. To receive inner wisdom is one of the biggest reasons why I keep on trying to call and publicly call out Jesse Lee Peterson, is because that is exactly what he is calling people to do, is to seek the inner wisdom through his quote unquote silent prayer, channeling the energy through here. I'll make myself big here. Channeling the energy through your pineal gland in the center of your forehead. Now, he doesn't say pineal gland in his little demonstration of the silent prayer, but he does say channeling the energy through your forehead, the center of your forehead is how he describes it. And a man that proclaims those sorts of things, there's not a chance in the world that that man is for or of the truth, God. So here, I'll kick that on the screen. False teacher, guys. False teacher. Most all of you already know that, but just in case, there it is again. Just making sure you guys are well aware, and that you share with your people as well. Um, and this is me every time I see a false teacher. That is what I do when I see a false teacher.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Is it live yet? Did you see it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's there.
Alrighty.
But it's also interesting too. That number that was at the top of that pyramid, that 13.
Uh-huh.
Big number in Masonry, big number in Kabbalism, big number in mysticism, big number in superstition. 13 pops up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere. And it's interesting that there are 13 chakras. There are 13 points on that geometry. It pops up
So
way
does
too many times.
so does 22.3. So does 33.
Yep.
33 pops up all over the place, and the 22.3 thing is really, really strange. I mean, that's disgustingly impossible that is a it just cannot be a coincidence. Well, I mean, anything could be a coincidence. I mean, come on. That's not a coincidence. Hello, Larry King. I also invited Larry King, but it's been a long time since I've seen. So two long time, been a long time, Robert Pearson. Been a long time, Larry King. But I'm happy to see you guys here. Please keep up the engagement, because the comments and the questions are definitely helpful to the conversation tonight. There was a woman explorer that went to Antarctica and disappeared trying to find the edge of the dome. Found her sled many 30 or 40 years later with a camera and a note that said, "I have found it." They opened the camera and exposed the film, so nothing was able to be used. There's a BBC documentary from the 60s. Not overly surprised, but however, what I find interesting is how well sheltered, as a public school educated individual as myself, well immersed into the programming. I went to Disney. I watched movies. I watched more movies than I bet I watched more movies than anybody in the chat right now. Growing up, I would watch 1 to 2 movies every night from the age of about 8 or 9 years old until 18. 1 or 2 movies, 360, no less than 360 days a year. There were like no less than 360 days a year. So that's how many movies I watched. Some of those would be repeats, but my parents kept Blockbuster. If my parents didn't do what they did, Blockbuster would have died at least 1 year earlier. That's how much money my parents invested in a Blockbuster. Nobody paid more late fees than my parents. We're talking hundreds of dollars a month. Hundreds. I know that's not thousands, but my parents.
Millions. No one has more late fees than me. No one ever.
No one has more what?
Late fees.
Okay, here's
You sound
another.
like Trump. You sound like Trump bragging about your late fees right now.
Oh yeah, exactly.
We have the best late fees. No one does it better. No one.
There you go.
No one does late fees better than we do.
All right, so I'm gonna close the chat box for a second. What's the pic of the thumbnail? Larry King asked. I don't know which thumbnail you're talking about. Because if you're talking about the video thumbnail that YouTube is showing right now, it picks a random point in the video, and I have no idea what you saw. But I thought that this was interesting that Isaac Newton was the original logo. And then I want you all to notice this: blue, red, yellow, green. Okay. So remember Isaac Newton. That's interesting because you later find out about who Isaac Newton was. What colors? Blue, red, yellow, green. Blue, red, yellow, green. Those are just colors. It's meaningless. The fact that what's up?
Devin, you have double digits right now.
It says 9 on my end, but welcome,
I'm
guys.
saying 10.
Hi, John. Welcome. Very good. So my curiosity.
Yeah, he gets it. The late fees were huge.
Huge.
No one does it better.
But were you kind? But was I kind?
I don't know what that means. I don't know what he's referring to.
I don't either.
And then Larry King said, "Oh, looks like a Masonic picture."
Oh yeah. There was a Masonic picture up, and YouTube probably. I mean, it's whatever.
We should start referring to these people as
the brother men.
Those people, or the brother men, or
no, we can.
Get... Oh, you can say Masons. That's right. No one cares if you talk about the Masons.
What? You have to say free for it to be bad?
Well, I mean, the Masons do hand out a lot of free things, so I don't know if they'd get real butthurt about that.
Yeah.
Like Disney subscriptions.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so I've just been thinking about a lot of different things.
Oh, he said, "Did you rewind, not be kind?"
Be kind, rewind. Were you kind? I get it. It's funny. I see 11 viewers. Welcome everybody. Say hello. Ask questions. Yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson is beyond clearly a false teacher. There's no question in the universe. 13 is 6 plus 7, the number of man combined with the number of God. They want to become God. Yeah, they do absolutely want to become God. Absolutely. Actually used to be a Mason. I left a long time ago. Larry, Jesus has worked in your life, man. You there's a lot of things that you've walked away from that you've shared with us, and that's a testimony. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And getting away from Masonry, man, that is that's pretty tough for a lot of people. So that's awesome. Praise God.
Brick Masons are better than Freemasons, intoxicating, to answer your question. Brick Masons are great guys. Freemasons are not free at all. They just think that they are. Anyway, so obviously I, watched probably Alexandra's videos, almost all of them, and started thinking about a lot of stuff. And then I was like, wait a second. We look at these top companies, and I was like, why is it that Microsoft, Apple, and Google, the three largest tech companies in the world, all share the same color scheme? And you could say, well, Apple has the whole rainbow. Why? Why the color? How does that communicate logically? Computing, or what is it communicating is the question. And I think the answer, my conjecture would be that the colors and it's all part of the programming. There is a message. We don't always know what that message is. I'm going to share this chart. Here's a good one to share with everybody. I'll have to adjust the. I'm going to adjust the screen here. Well, I'll adjust it over here, make it easier. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm covered up. You can see us at the bottom though. That'll work. There we go. That's just fine. There we go. Alrighty. So, the chat is appearing and disappearing. I'm sorry.
Well, Robert, I would agree with you. They have to tell us who owns us, but the second side of that is they have to get your permission. Like, they have to get your permission to do the things that they do to you. And you not protesting it is a form of you giving your permission. So, like, they have to tell you what they're doing because they need your permission. It's in their rule system.
Larry King said, I joke with people now and tell them I'm a roofer, not a mason. Not a bad idea. They have to tell us who owns us. Yeah. Every time you mention Alexandria, I think AOC, definitely programmed. You guys. I did show the Alexandria on my video. I guess was that last week, maybe, when they were in Iowa, and I was freaking out. So where does this all fit in with Romans 13? That's a good question.
I don't know about Romans 13, but she sure did bring up Revelation 13 a lot.
Yeah, there was a lot of revelation.
Interestingly enough, 13 again.
Thanks, Robert. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resisteth shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God, a revenger, to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore ye must need. Sorry, it's been a while for me on the KJV, guys. It's just what popped up. Wherefore ye must needs be subject. Why is that so hard for me to? Wherefore ye must needs be subject. It sounds so awkward because I'm not understanding one of those words in the right way. Sorry. Not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. Is this a joke? BibleGateway.com, guys. They have verse 6 for this cause. Is Is Bible Gateway compromised? Let me go to another KJV. I'm sorry, guys. This is no. Now I'm on KingJamesBibleOnline.org. Am I having a seizure? What is happening with chapter 13 verse 6? Is this real life right now? For this cause. How do you even read that? Guys, help me. What is happening with chapter 13 verse 6 of Romans? Why is there 4? I went to 2 different websites, and I don't have no KJV.
It is therefore for.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean that would actually make sense. But KJV for this cause, but there's not a. I get it. You've been reading a perversion. Thanks, intoxicating. Appreciate you. All right. I read the Amplified more than pretty much any other translation, but I also like the NASB, and every now and then I accidentally read the ESV, which I don't have any gripes with, but I like the Amplified the most. What you can do? Anyway, for this cause, which makes no sense. Pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything, but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. For this thou shalt commit, for this thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Does it not strike you as strange that he says all of those things, and then he says, don't owe a man anything?
Mm-hmm.
He talks about all the rulers and governors and all this other stuff, and then he just says, don't owe people anything. Wait, what? Like, could it be that he's not talking about earthly government? I've never caught that before, but it says, like, I don't know. I heard it this time when you were reading it, like, don't owe any man anything.
Oh, no man anything. Yeah, I always thought that was
telling you to pay dues to who they're due.
And tribute.
Yeah. Which would insinuate that you owed it to them.
Out of righteous obligation, as opposed to voluntary. So I think that verse 7 is indicating involuntary debt, as opposed to verse 8 referring to voluntary debt, and to not owe any man anything out of voluntary means. But that's just my quick assessment of how I've understood this being a call against being in debt, like credit cards and stuff like that. This verse has been used as an argument against mortgages, credit cards, title loans, all that stuff.
Yeah, he said debt makes you a slave. Paul says, do not seek your freedom if you are a slave. Well, that's because you're always going to be a slave to something. You're either going to be a slave to sin or you're going to be a slave to righteousness.
All right, I'm going to finish this chapter because it's really short. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. Very important verse. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, to be woke, as the Bible says. Anyway, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, The day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying. Uh, uh, American Dream, read. Kidding, not kidding, not kidding. Verse 13 there, not in strife and envying, is literally, it's not obviously saying don't pursue the American dream, but it is saying don't pursue the American dream. But put ye on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lusts thereof. So how does chapter 13 of Romans apply was the general question.
I think he was talking about the first few verses there, where he's talking about owe to whom what you owe them, pay your taxes, so on and so forth. Like, I don't know.
Well, and also what we should be doing with our time. Is that what was that noise? Somebody sending me messages? Yeah, somebody is sending me messages. Yeah, there's also an ice wall group on there's an ice wall group on Discord as well, which I guess is and there's some bears in there, and there's there's a lot of Christians. Not everybody. But there's a lot of actual Christians in that group. But anyway, so we've got this picture up that I'm blocking your face right now over. If the Illuminati doesn't own you unless you want them to own you, Ian Bear thinks that it's hysterical that I'm that I'm in a flat Earth Discord. The fact of the matter is, I just know something's up. I don't think one way or the other regarding the shape of the Earth. I know something is up based on what I've been learning. There is something up. That's all I know. And what I mean in addition to that is the number of millions, the disproportionate tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that have been spent to protect the globe Earth idea, the overwhelming shuddering of all alternative explanations, even if they're quote unquote retarded, even if they are literally insane. People have been saying insane things all the time. People make fun of Bigfoot people, and completely dismiss them, but they don't ever spend millions and millions and millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars proving that Bigfoot doesn't exist. If they did,
actually, they spend at least hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to prove that he does.
Exactly, with the History Channel and all that fun stuff, and it's entertainment, right? But and that's a great example, because if people found out that there was really a Bigfoot, Nephilim. I'm sorry. Did I say which one did I say? Did I say Bigfoot or Nephilim?
Bigfoot.
Same thing. Wait a second. Did I just say same thing?
Well, hang on. Just not to derail this for a second, but I want to address something that Robert said. He said, if the Illuminati owns us, we just call out the sodomites and keep doing jobs right. And he followed up with, if you have a birth certificate, the U.S. Corp owns you, which is just an arm of the Illuminati, right? Christ is my true king. See, the problem is, Robert, that once you're onto the game, they have no power over you anymore.
Even if they have
they
your
birth certificate.
What is that? What is that? What is birth certificate? What does that even mean? Who cares?
Yeah. Like, they're using to borrow
Do you need a birth
against your life.
certificate? Do you need a birth certificate to prove that you are a human? Does God care about a piece of paper, or did
No,
he
but that's
stitch
what
you
I mean.
together in
But
your mother's womb?
once you have exposed the lie for what it is, like Christians are like true Christians. I'm not talking about your average everyday, I go to church once a week and I don't give a crap the rest of the week what the Bible says. True Christians that actually have faith and a walk with God are the people that these people fear the most. Like they can't stand you. Like they literally hate your guts. Like because you have something that they can't have. Like not to mention the fact that you're basically untouchable. Like you've beaten the scheme that Satan set up from the beginning. Like you know them and therefore you have power over them. Like because of Jesus. So they can't touch you. You're not in their game anymore. And not only that, but you're a threat to the system because you can expose it. Like it just is what it is. Like you're not part of that game anymore. So you realize that their government is a sham. It's only meant to trick you from knowing what the actual government is, which is what God set up for it to be, him as the leader and us as the followers, the body, and him as the head. Christ is our head and we are the body, as Paul would break it down. And that's our job. That's the government we follow. We don't give a crap what these people do. Like it doesn't matter because it's all a game. Like it's all a game to them, and the game is just to stay in power and keep you enslaved. It's just a game. They might be warring for power over the earth, but you realize that power is useless anyways. So the game is see through. The wizard doesn't have any clothes on. Like it just they are you know what I mean. Like the emperor doesn't have any clothes on, and you can see that he doesn't have any clothes on now. Like it's a shadow game at this point, and you are the light that casts the shadow. Like they're terrified of you. Like they can't have any control over you when you know what the game is. Like they lose their power. So that's just my answer to that. And the fact of the matter is we do what God told us to do from the beginning. Like he set up a government, and every other government is just trying to steal that power away, that authority from him. He already told you what law is. He already told you the rules to live by. He already told you what's good and bad for you. The only question is are you going to do it? Like, which system are you going to follow? And I liked the way that I think it was Larry King that said it. He said that basically by not speaking out against it, you're giving your consent. It's basically signing the contract. And I like that phrasing because it is a contract. It's a covenant.
Which thing is a contract? Which thing?
The social contract that you're following. Which government are you following?
Oh, okay. As far as my loyalty belongs to Jesus versus
exactly.
America,
yeah.
first, or Israel first, or or
silence is consent is what Robert Pearson's followed up with. Yeah, silence is consent,
and most people are okay with well, just live and let live. Just be nice to people and show the love of God, and you don't really have to worry about any of the other stuff. One of the big things for me is my family just went to my parents and my sister just went to Disney World, and they really love it, and I've got all this nostalgia, positive memories of something that I now find revolting because I know what it's up to, and my family wants to pay for me to go to quote unquote what people, even church members I've heard call the happiest place on earth. In one of the churches I went to, that these people called it the happiest place on earth because that's its little catchphrase. And I said, it was a group chat thing, and I replied in the group chat and I said, Um, this is pathetic. This is worse than a dad's joke, but this is what I said. I said, where? The Mariana Trench? Because of the word Mary within Mariana
Yeah,
is the most
yeah. So
pathetic,
good.
not funny at all, pathetic. But I do stuff like that to be like, you guys aren't. I actually, to be real, I had no idea what they were talking about when they said the happiest place on earth. I was like, are you guys going to Bahamas? I mean, I don't know what in the world you're talking about. And so I really did just come up with an example of something that I thought would be funny and would have happy in the word. So that's what I said. But then when I found out it was Disney they were talking about, I was just like, oh yeah, it is called that, isn't it? And so anyway, how do you
Yeah.
break it to your family that you're not going to be following the traditions of generations of generations of behavior, such as Christmas, such as Disney, such as Easter egg hunt, and all the things that they think that are valuable in regards to providing happiness, joy, wonder, curiosity, the childhood experience as it's known, and how can you provide those things to your child if you aren't doing it in the way that it has so traditionally been done? And this question might not be relevant for everybody in the chat or anybody that ever watches this video, but it is a relevant question. How do you participate? I know it's one that's personal to you, Charles, because you've talked about it, the Christmas thing, and you come back, you disappear from this town for a little while, you come back, and the neighbors are out walking around, and they're asking if you've converted to a different religion uh, because
Yeah.
the day that you celebrate the Sabbath is the day that the Sabbath is on. Um, but they don't see it that way.
But yeah, like because I take Sabbath on Saturday, because I don't celebrate Christmas and Easter, I have to be either Jewish or Muslim.
According to thought, simple thought of the locals at least. But I mean, there's some logical conclusions there. I
And
grew.
I'm not joking, guys. Like our neighbor, when we went back to visit the Jumps, literally
That's
walked up
me.
to my
That's
wife and
not everybody here. Well, yeah, you guys should
oh,
see. You see my name up in the upper right corner of the screen. You know my name. But yeah, that's my
okay.
family. But go
So
ahead. Go ahead.
we went back to visit them, and my neighbor literally walked up to my wife and said, "So are you guys Jewish now?"
Yeah,
And we're like,
that happened.
"What?" We're like, "No." Like it's so funny the assumptions that people make when you just stop going to uh their worship service, and because you bring up things that the Bible says that they shouldn't be doing, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to keep doing them anyways because we don't want to lose our jobs." It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to be here anymore. So um it's just, it was a decision that we made, and was like, we're not going to do it anymore. And we wanted to do it quietly and peaceably. We didn't want to start a war or anything, so we just stopped going. And and it was pathetic, the response that happened, because nobody even came and talked to us about it. There was like 2 women from the church that came and talked to us. Not a single man would confront me about it. And it was really sad, really. But I mean, we left that, and we broke the news to our family that we weren't going to be doing Christmas or Easter more or Halloween or any of that stuff, because it was just like, that's not the way that God wants to be worshipped. So he doesn't want to be worshipped in pagan ways. He wants to be worshipped in the ways that he told you to worship, and he already gave you a day to celebrate his death and resurrection, and that's it is what it is. It's called Passover. He
Yeah.
already gave you a celebration for it. He never told you to celebrate his birth, and if he wanted you to, he would have laid out a way for you to do so. And it definitely isn't Yule. And I'm sorry if any of you guys in the chat do still celebrate Christmas. I'm not judging you for it. It took me a long time to break out of it, and I don't judge anybody for it. Like, That's between you and God. That's not between me and you. It's just it didn't feel right for my family
It is
anymore.
something you should actually
You should research it then.
critical. You should have critical thought. You should critically reflect on why you do anything that you do. You should critically reflect on the things that you do. So, and that's the point. And part of the boomers, they refuse to critically reflect on anything that they do. Period. And that's
their
part.
programming. I think their programming was severe
Well,
for their generation.
it's very strange because there's a lot of, if you look at lots of programming from right before they were born, right before the boomers were born, that programming, like the stay away from homosexuals and don't get into the car, and if your friend does get in the car, look at the license plate and get the, all that stuff that they were doing in the 50s. Well, that was right. Boomers were too young.
Yeah.
Boomers were too young for that.
But I mean, the habits that they got from their parents. Like their parents ingrained that in them. So
their parents were working 70 hours a week and weren't part of their lives. The boomers were the first generation that were raised by the television. I don't care if they only had 3 television channels, they watched. Yes, they played out. They did play outside a lot. They played outside outrageously more than the next generations, big time. But
Larry asked,
they were the first generation to be raised by the television, comparatively to any other prior. And television is different than radio. Yes, they did a lot of weird stuff with radio, but it's a different animal. So what?
Oh, he said, "What's the deal with celebrating Easter? I understand celebrating Christmas, but shouldn't we celebrate Easter? Easter is on the spring solstice, and it is the pagan festival worship of Ishtar, the mother, or Isis, who was the mother of Nimrod, Semiramis. It was a pagan festival that was bent around child sacrifice, which is why you have eggs." Fertility, and they would literally paint their eggs with the blood of the children that they were sacrificing to their gods.
Okay, so now see if you can go into why. What about Good Friday, and what about the resurrection?
That's basically all stemmed in. It all started in the Catholic, but I mean that was all heavily influenced by the Illuminists. And their sacrifice and resurrection rituals, like the distance between Good Friday and Sunday, how many days is that? Think about it. Even from Hebrew, sun up to sundown, how many days is that? It's not 3.
It's confusingly not 3.
But
as in, it's nothing
Catholic
but
history. They're the ones that changed it. But either or, it's still not when it's supposed to be.
Well, what is Maundy Thursday? What is Maundy Thursday? What is that? I don't even know.
Well, look at Ash Wednesday.
I'm not a Catholic.
Look at the whole Lent celebration. Like, what does it celebrate?
Well, on the surface, what they tell people it is that it celebrates reflection and devotion to Christ,
who they don't even worship. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, but I mean, like, so there's all of that, but like the realness of
Last
it
Supper.
is
Thank you, Ian. Ian said Thursday is the Last Supper. But,
yeah, and it's like he already gave you a celebration to celebrate the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, because Passover was a foreshadowing of what would happen in the events that would happen.
Jeremy is sharing that Maundy Thursday isn't Catholic; Reformers celebrate it as well. So here's an interesting thing. While we're on the topic of the Catholic Church, we'll go back to the globe briefly. We'll do a little ADD action here real quick. The globe.
Oh, it's all good. Intoxicating.
The globe was invented as a concept during the Counter-Reformation movement. And let that sink in as to when it started, when the
Oh,
globe
you mean with Copernicus and all that? Yeah.
when the globe started directly correlates to Luther.
Hey, Devin, continue for a second. You're going to be looking at my ceiling for a minute. I got to go get a drink.
That's okay. I'll put an image. We'll just stare at this epic image real quick. You don't have to look at me. That's not important at all. Where is this image? Whoa. Don't you like that sound? I knew I could find it just somewhere in here. All right, we will. Here, I'll open up a different way. I know I can do this. Is this your first time on a computer? Yes. Yes, it is. Leave me alone. I know I can do this. I thought I saved this image already. I did. Why can't I find it? Why can't I find it? There it is, guys. There it is. There it is. I found this very unusual. Because of, look, this is why. This is why I found this very unusual. Hot Springs, South Dakota. Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, because I can't
I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
This is now probably Alexandra is who first showed this image. I had never seen it before, but I looked it up and I
Oh,
found
the convex concaver.
correct. It's very fascinating as a model because it's almost a hybrid. And I'll tell you what, the Flat Earth Discord channel did not like this. They just kind of scoffed at it and moved on when I was trying to share it with them. But I actually thought it was fascinating and interesting. But it says on here 400 passages in the Bible that condemn the globe theory or the flying Earth, and none sustain it. The map is the Bible map of the world. This map is the Bible map of the world, according to these people. That's what they say. And
Have you ever seen Rob Skiba's Yahuwah Terrarium?
no, I'll have to look that up.
That is a fascinating model.
I'll have to look that up. But this is just weird. Out of South Dakota, of all places. Why South Dakota? Now,
The roulette Earth, Robert Pearson said.
exactly. It looks very, very roulette table-ish. Now, one of the fascinating things about the roulette, about Middle America is the people that hypothetically lived in Middle America prior to Christopher Columbus being here. Have you heard about this? There was a race.
So.
There was a race of giants. Starts with the letter.
Robert said Vegas knows. That's hysterical. You have the win for the funniest comment so far now. That's hilarious.
It is good.
Bet on black or something.
That's a big round globe background. Yeah, I know. I do. I'm going to minimize you for a second, Charles. Yes, I have this image as my background. I like to consider all the different options.
That's a big Antarctica.
This is supposedly a picture of Antarctica. And
they never show satellites being underneath the Earth, weirdly enough.
I know, and I've been trying to understand exactly why that is. But anyway, bet on black or something. Actually, the house always wins, you know. The house always wins because of that 51%. Isn't that amazing? On the roulette thing. Just trying to look at the comments, see if I missed anything. Except the Messianic Passover for the win. I know. It's all good.
That's what me and my family do. That's what me and my family do. So
Yeah.
we actually try to celebrate as many of the biblical feast days as we can. Some of them are really hard to get any type of guidance or instruction on.
that
I try to
haven't
go as
been distorted by Talmudic interpretations and stuff.
well. Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like if you look up, well, how am I supposed to celebrate this feast? And all you get is like rabbinical Judaism set out this pagan plate full of eggs and celery sticks, and all these things represent things. It's like, no, that's not what I'm doing at all. That sounds awful. That sounds really awful.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Well,
I'm exchanging one pagan feast for another. Like,
yeah, exactly.
so like I'm not about that. So like we try with our as best as we can to do that stuff. But I mean, it was really odd this year because we planned a camping trip to go see my dad in Southern Illinois. And it just so happened to land on when everybody else happened to be celebrating tabernacles. So it was like, oh, that's interesting. And we didn't even plan it on purpose. Like it was like just something we did off the cuff.
I know Messianic Jews exist. Steve Pender is one of them. Allegedly. I mean,
But just trying to go as hard, like from what the Bible's instructions are as we can. Even though, I mean, some of it's not very specific, but oddly enough, Thanksgiving is not a commanded feast, but a recommended feast. The Feast of First Fruits.
I'm gonna get you guys to vote on these. I'm gonna turn these into a T-shirt on Teespring, and or other apparel possibly. All right, I'll just start lining them up over here. I want to see what you guys vote is.
Yeah, that's kind of what we thought, Rob. We felt like we just can't go wrong with like whatever the Bible says. So I try to do as much research into it as possible and just try to do whatever we can research and find. You know, it'd be great to actually have a group of people do it, but so far we've just kind of been on our own with it. And I mean, that's kind of part of what we want to do with Farmunity anyway. So
exactly, yeah, very true. All right, can I get a vote on you see the title? We got number 2, we got number 4, we got number 3, we got number 0, and we got number 5. Is that everything? Because I don't think I did a 1. 0 is 1. Man, I'm teaching some crazy bad math tonight. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Vote in the chat. There's 8 people.
No, 0 is off and 1 is on.
Huh?
It's binary.
Oh, okay. Can I get some votes in the chat? Little help. All right, we gotta vote on 2. Thank you, appreciate you.
Exactly intoxicating. The beautiful thing about what we're doing is that God is judging our hearts, and the fact of the matter is I don't necessarily completely agree with that statement, but the fact of the matter is no, it's not up to your heart. It's up to His instructions and whether your heart is seeking to follow His instructions. Because in all honesty, what did Jesus tell us to call Him? Abba, Daddy.
He did.
You're daddy to us. Like you're our father, and it's more intimate than that. It's like a child that looks at his daddy and says, "Daddy, I love you." Like that's the relationship we're supposed to have with him, which only insinuates that that's the type of relationship he wants to have with us. So, in that statement, like you've turned your back on all this paganism and all the things that he definitely doesn't want, and you've started trying to do the things that he wants. What kind of a father figure is going to look at his child and scream at him and beat him for not doing exactly the exact thing that he wanted you to do? Are you trying to do what I told you to do? Is your heart obedient to me? Are you trying to follow the things that I told you to do? Obviously, you're not going to get them all right. That was never the intent anyways. Your heart is what he cared about from the beginning. And whether your heart was bent on trying to get away with doing bad stuff or whether your heart was like, hey, I want to do what dad wants me to do. I mean, I know how to do it properly, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do what my father wants because it's what he wants and I love him and I want to make him happy. It's not about salvation at that point. It's about, I want to do what makes my dad happy because I love him and I want to do what makes him happy. We know where salvation comes from. The rest is just, I want to make dad happy. Which ones you got 1, 2, and 3 here? Oh, okay. So you got them labeled. So far, I'm saying 4 is the one that looks the best in my mind.
And obviously, I would line up the letters better to not be like. See, this is not how I would want to keep it as far as the alignment here. But
well, see, symmetric. That's why symmetrically I like 4 the best. Is
yeah,
because
it's more about.
it looks.
I'm gonna clean it up, guys. It's more about. It's
the style,
more,
the font.
yeah, it's more about the style that I was trying to get votes on. So there was 2 votes for 3 and 1 vote for 2, and you voted for 4. So 2, 4, and 3. But nobody voted for this one. Let me go ahead and close out. Probably because that E is just awkwardly way the heck out. I get it. Arrivederci. Nobody likes the almost Arabic looking. I thought this was kind of cool, but just not out of place. Maybe cool for something else. But I guess I'll close that one too. But anyway, 3 is down here. 3 did look kind of cool, kind of calligraphy like. All right, so thanks for all of your participation, every single one of you, all 8 of you that voted. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Somebody as in 5 of you did not vote, or at least 4 of you. Listen to the prophets. They were technically obeying, but their obedience was from disdain or obligation, and their hearts were not inclined to care for the widow, the orphan, or the poor. The prophets weren't inclined.
No. The prophets were telling the people.
Oh yeah.
The prophets were the ones that were caring for the poor and the widow and the orphans and the starving and the needy. Like doing what God told them to do and trying to tell the people, like, this is what God wants you to do. And the people were doing it out of obligation or necessity, which is, again, not how God told you to do anything. He wants you to do it cheerfully and out of obedience. So, and then, that's another really cool thing that Alexander brought up. I'm not sure if you saw that video.
Probably
about how taking
all.
his name and how that picture looked. I don't know if you saw that one. That was really cool. About taking God's name in vain.
Oh no, maybe not.
Because of the covenant or marriage ceremony that takes place between you and God, and when you marry him, you take his name. And you bear his name.
Yes. I did. Yeah, I did hear.
And then how taking his name in vain, like taking his name without assuming the responsibility that comes with that. That's why he said, you better know what you're doing if you're going to do this, because if you do this, I'm not going to hold you guiltless who takes my name in vain. So yeah, it's really kind of, I was like, wow, that's cool. I've thought that for a while, but I've just never heard anybody else.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I get you, Jeremy. I'm on the same page. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is. It's hypocrisy. Bearing his name in vain is hypocrisy. It has nothing to do with cursing. It's bearing his name in hypocrisy. Saying that you are a follower of his and that you're doing what he wants you to do, and then they can't see any light in you whatsoever, is what I would say is taking the Lord's name in vain. Exactly, Robert. Yeah.
Here's what really
grind your gears.
I found this overwhelmingly strange when I recently learned that the actual area of Rome was the same size as Radcliffe. The city, Rome, was 1 square mile.
Wow.
My brain almost exploded but the Babylonian city was, the city of Babylon was, I believe, 6 square miles. I don't think that was necessarily,
Well,
they
the
didn't
city of
measure
Babel was hundreds of square miles.
size. I forget. Anyway, the fact of the matter is Babylon was much larger than the city Rome, and that I find that just wow. Um,
But either way, it wasn't built in a day. So
yeah, neither one of them. Yeah, I get it. I was trying to find a quick answer, but I can't find it. So there's questions about, what does it all mean? What are you supposed to do? One thing is for sure. You should think critically about the narrative and about the programming, because a tremendous amount of money and programming is getting put out there. It's absurd when you start looking at all of the connections.
I feel like we're going to be on this topic for a couple weeks.
It's pretty.
It's too extensive to even try to cover in a single week.
Have you guys seen the Challenger? All the people from the Challenger spaceship survived except for maybe one. Maybe yes, no, maybe.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
You have seen it?
Oh yeah, the pictures of them in society with different names and everything, and they claim that they're all just twins and everything. Yes.
Yeah, except they do actually say stuff like, yeah, I was a twin. But not all of them actually changed names.
Yeah.
Here, I'll pull it up here. Because that, I mean, here, I'll show you guys. I'm just gonna say something and then let's see.
I've only got a couple more minutes here.
Couple minutes.
So, yeah.
Here we go. Here we go.
I liked it better the first time, Robert. Slave is gang.
So this is a Google Doc that I guess I could share. Anyone could view with the link. So I'll post that in the chat. I guess. I don't know if that'll work or not. Slave is gang. How can you argue with that? Here, maybe I could
Slave is gang.
zoom in here a little bit. All right, this is some of it right here. So is this the same guy? I just don't. I don't know. Is this the same guy? Maybe not.
Well, it's funny that he's CEO of Cows and Trees.
Cows and Trees Limited, the Richard Scobie.
I mean, that guy has the exact same facial symmetry, so
yeah,
that's really hard to deny.
This is yeah, and then you've got Judith Resnick, and what did they become? Professor, professor, CEO. Okay, and then they've got all of them, except for one. 6 of the 7.
Who didn't take the buyout, and he's in the bottom of a CIA bunker somewhere.
I guess it was this guy. And that's because maybe he's not listed because he's so well insulated. That guy, I don't know.
He's actually the guy that just did the interview where he said, well, we can't go to the moon. We lost the technology.
Yeah. But then they share this one here, and I was like, I don't know if that's the same woman, but I don't know. There's doppelgangers all over the place. But doppelgangers don't usually have the
same logo on their
no, the same name. Doppelgangers usually don't. It's not like, hey, Frank, I have this guy over here, Steve. He looks just like you. It's that. It's not usually, hey, Frank Smith, I have this other Frank Smith that looks just like you. Anyway.
Oddly enough, has the same middle name, was born on the same day, has the same birth certificate. It's just really odd.
We don't know how it happened. Taboo Conspiracy posted a Polish astronaut. Just saying that. Yeah, I just saw that. We can watch that together actually, because I had that pulled up, but I don't want to waste. It was only 34-second video, but I don't want to waste any time if you're about to go, Charles.
Yeah, I got to run pretty quickly.
Do you have any? Wrangler Star is he's live right now.
I don't know.
Huh?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, Wrangler. I've been watching Wrangler Star stuff for about a year. He's just a dude that does Amazon reviews, and he's a Christian, and he watches Owen, and he hangs out in Owen's stream sometimes, and they just did a interview together a couple of days ago. That's it. And
that Bear Independent guy was reading from Torah tonight too. That was interesting.
Yeah, Bear. Yeah, he's hardcore and all that. Let's see, what was I going to say? All right, so
apparently everybody knows about him but me, so
that's all good. So
thanks for letting me in on the secret, guys. All of you. I'm not judging you or anything.
So, Charles, you said it took you a while. What is your recommendation to the 7 the viewers that we have now and in the future? Rip the Band-Aid off, or dip your toe in, the hot tub. Change can be described in those two different ways. You can dip your toe in the hot tub and acclimate yourself to the change, or you can just rip the Band-Aid. Those are the two metaphors.
I would say that you're gonna dip your toe in first, and then it's gonna be a rip the Band-Aid thing, because once you take one step in that direction, the other is just kind of waterfall behind it. Like, because once you stop doing one of those things, like all of them, you're like, yeah, well, I can't do any of this stuff either. So, like, if I'm gonna take this seriously, I either have to take all of it seriously or none of it seriously. Like, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna tiptoe into this, and then it ends up being a waterfall. So it's like that. You dip your toe in, and then you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna be cold, and then you're just gonna cannonball and get it over with, because it's just easier than trying to wade in. And you know what happens? You get cold, and then you get up to your crotch, and you just stop wanting to do it at that point. So you're just which is why I feel like some people would tiptoe in, and then they would just be like, yeah, this isn't for me, and then they just get out and never get back in. So, because that's a reaction too. But, like, I don't know, take your time and research it. Like, really believe in what you're doing. Don't just do it because somebody else says to do it or says that it's the right way. Like, be convinced that this stuff is true. Like, prove it to yourself or disprove it to yourself if that's the key. Because if you can disprove it, I definitely want to know. Because I'd kind of want to know if I'm doing something like off the wall too. So again, prove it to yourself. And it's gonna take you breaking away from somebody else telling you what the Bible means and you actually picking it up and figuring it out for yourself.
Yes.
Is really where it all starts. Like, you actually have to pick it up and read it. Like,
So-
letting somebody else read you the Bible and tell you what it means, you're never going to get there.
It's one of the big problems is you find out that all the people that you looked up to and they disappoint you, and then you want to, you're like, oh my gosh, well, all these people are so disappointing. Well, if you had read the Bible for yourself, you would actually have read the part of the Bible that tells you that it's better to put your trust in God than to put your trust in man. And then when you find out that that somebody was actually a Freemason like C.S. Lewis, or even um, what's the other dude? That Spurgeon. Spurgeon.
Charles Spurgeon.
I've read tons of Spurgeon, and I really appreciate his stuff. But just because somebody tells the truth some of the times, or does good things, that doesn't instantly mean that they're all good, or that they're not just trying to compensate for the evil.
Well, commentary is meant to give you insight. It's not supposed to be the rule. Like, you're supposed to get all your truth off of the Bible and then relate everything else to that. Like, it's not supposed to be I read this commentary and that's what I believe. Like, oh, okay, well, I mean, did you actually stop ruining everything? True, dude. Some of the stuff that I've found out is just blowing my mind.
See, I'm not trying to ruin anything. What I'm trying to do is call anybody and everybody back to the basic truths of the Bible, and that one of those is, it is better to trust in God than to put your trust in man. And I know none of you guys put your full trust in Charles Spurgeon, but just like me, he was probably one of the, legends. When you're like reading what he said, it's like, dude, he, yeah, it was good stuff. But you got to wonder, anybody that makes you feel like you no longer need to read the Bible, that might be suspicious too. Anybody that makes you go, I don't know, it doesn't matter. People are people. Trust in God, and trust in His word, and look to His word. So even when Charles goes, whenever that is, I'm happy to have him for another hour or
right now.
10 seconds. I'm still going to be going for a little bit longer, just so you guys know. But all right, any last words there, Charles?
I would just say, read your Bible. Pick up your Bible and read it. And if that's where you're seeking truth, then you're going to find truth. Again, because if you're seeking truth, you're going to end up at God, because that's the only source of truth. But make sure you're getting your truth from the source of truth and not from man's source of truth. So
yeah,
that's what I got. Robert, that's a good one to end it with.
Oh,
I've started assuming everyone I've ever heard of is a sodomite. Sodomite Mason.
It's, yeah, and then no,
Jonathan Edwards is Illuminati.
well, actually, Jonathan Edwards was thrown under the bus by Alexandra. Which video was that? Was that
was an Inconvenient Truth?
No, the history one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first Inconvenient
History.
History.
Yeah.
Inconvenient History, I think, is what it was titled.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, Ian Bear Pig. Safe to assume the people we're aware of is only because someone let us be aware of them.
Sorry, I did not.
He said it's safe to assume the people we are aware of is because someone let us be aware of them.
I'm
If the
sorry.
people that were in charge of the world, the Masons, Lucifer's playground, right? So, if the people that are in charge of the whole thing are letting you read that and they haven't burned it or banned it or hid it from you, it's probably safe to assume that they're okay with whatever it's teaching you. It's an inconvenient truth. You look like you just swallowed a fly, Devin. Are you okay?
Yeah. I get distracted because Amanda was texting me.
Oh gosh, Robert, stop baiting it. Stop baiting it. Just stop.
Robert knows he knows all of this, and he's just playing a game now.
He's just baiting it.
Billy
Don't tell
Graham.
me Billy Graham was a Mason.
I worked for the company Samaritan's Purse for a short while, and I rubbed shoulders with all those people. Franklin, not Billy, but even still, after knowing what I know now, some of what I witnessed while I worked at Samaritan's Purse actually makes a lot of sense in how people spent their time together, in who they sat with at the tables. It it makes sense. I hate all. Hey, again, it's better to trust in God than to put your trust in man. And
With that, dude, I gotta go. I gotta run. So
yeah, man.
it was a pleasure hanging out with all you guys tonight. Sorry for ruining your life, Jeremy. Please talk to us again. We love you. You'll come to terms with it all. You'll cry. We all cried. It's okay. I cried when I found out the Earth was flat. I wanted there to be a space that I could go into.
Are you 100% sold? Just curious.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh well, I'm not. I just know that something's up.
Good. I need somebody to hold me accountable in life. So,
but I'm not sold out because I just want to be sold out to God. But anyway.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm sold out though, because I'm convinced that there's not any need for there to be anything beyond this. So there's not any need to.
All right. Well, good night.
All right. See you later. Again, guys, love you. Stay strong. Keep reading your Bibles.
Devin's still trying to read the KJV. Oh, that's why I was distracted. No, I was getting text from the wife, and I was just trying to provide adequate communication. So, all right. Dude, I read through the whole Bible. I read through the whole Bible, KJV. I read through the whole Bible, amplified. I, which are arguably two of the hardest versions to read start to finish. I also did the whole Bible in one of those chronological Bibles, NIV. I read that start to finish, one of the chronological Bibles. And then I've read nine. Well, no, I also read start to finish the NASB because that's what I did in college. Primarily used the NASB. So I have, and that's kind of sad if you think about it. I've been a Christian for 21 years and I've only read the Bible 4 times. Now, I've read certain books of the Bible. I've probably read the New Testament 10 times that. But in regards to the Old Testament, I've only read the whole Old Testament 4 solid times. And I've read certain books of the Old Testament high single digits. But anyway, that's not relevant, I guess. But I'm only saying that to say that I don't have any issue reading the KJV. It's just been a while. Calvin's city, he ruled in Geneva. Okay. Calvin um, John Calvin ruled in a city, intoxicated, taken. I gotta pick up my mom. She just lost her job. Please send prayers. Oh, yeah, man, that's rough. We will pray. Doesn't mean the devil can't quote scripture, but at the same time, oh, the grain of salt. Yeah. Don't you take Edwards away from me, dude. I know he had good sermons. He had good sermons, but some John Calvin was a tyrant. It kind of lines up. It lines up with Calvinism, actually. It makes sense. All men are flawed. It's okay. Don't idolize them. I've been guilty. I get it. Let's go back to this picture. This is an important picture. Dun dun dun. That's how I felt. Um, okay, let's watch that video. I said we were going to watch that video. Let's watch that video. Let's watch that video. Everyone has left the call. All right, we will do this number here. And whoops, nope, we can't have that now, can we? All righty.
Pan tam był. Czy Ziemia rzeczywiście jest kulą zawieszoną w kosmosie?
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
Generał Mirosław Hermaszewski, jak dotąd pierwszy i ostatni Polak, który odbył lot orbitalny. Dziękuję serdecznie za rozmowę.
Dzięki. Dziękuję, kłaniam się.
What is that poster in the background? Polak W. Cosmosi, which I have a feeling that is like the word for space, right? Cosmonaut, yeah. but hold on. We need some actual Polish translation. We need somebody. Don't we know somebody? Doesn't one of the Bears speak Polish? We've got to know somebody that speaks Polish. And I wonder if I can play a YouTube video. Hold on. What are the comments? There's got to be somebody on this. Terra Plaska. Can anyone confirm that this translation is correct? It has been confirmed. The translation is real. That's really him. So far, this looks very real. Who translated it? Do you know? I don't want to get all like OMG until I yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah. Interesting. Polish Air Force cosmonaut. Um, I didn't think I'd get this question. How come everybody was just here for Charles? Is that how this is? I didn't realize how popular he was. How dare I? How dare I? Hey, how dare you? Guys, some fascinating stuff. But thanks for helping me narrow down my design. I can just direct you now. I could hop on one of these Discord things and start talking to people randomly. Whoa. But seeing as how everybody has disappeared, me talking to myself just doesn't usually go very well. Any ideas? Any comments? Mira Sermanzuski. It's interesting. The only people who know and speak Polish. I got you. No, I'm looking for Mr. Rogers for the same. I know. I agree, Jeremy. That doesn't mean you can't get it. I got you. It's all good. Just because somebody has an agenda doesn't mean that every word that they ever said was a lie. They the principles of hermeneutics are objectively good. So it's really upon those foundations that studying scripture is still capable of being pursued. What I find very fascinating is that the pool of the number of people that are devoting their life to the study of the Word of God and the number of modern commentary on the scripture is dwindling. And that is something I do find fascinating. Call out the sodomites. Absolutely. Good night, Robert. And some Polish guy believes that the earth is flat, and he allegedly saw it for himself. All I know is it could still go either way. But what can't go either way, what is 100% unquestionable, is the fact that there is a motivation on the globe agenda to maintain that. And my question is, if the globe model is absolutely a fact, unquestionably a fact, ridiculously to be thought of as anything but blatantly a fact, then why are they trying so hard to defend it? Again, nobody did this for Bigfoot. Nobody did this for aliens. In fact, quite the opposite. It's a good question to ask, guys. It's a good question to ask. And that's really the main thing. Just ask those questions. You all might have noticed that I reduced. I can't make my mouse go down that low. But anyway, I reduced the goal because I reduced it. I've got tires to buy and only a handful of other things. But it is a goal. And actually, it needs updated because of two epic individuals, Josh Tott and Alex Woofy Bear, who have been supporting me on Patreon for about 6 months, actually. And like I've said before, they don't know. I don't think that they know how thankful I am, but I try to tell them. And yep. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. And I recommend for anybody watching up to this point, if you're looking for further resources learning, go ahead and head over to my channel and check out the Religious Study for Christians playlist. You will find probably Alexandra's video queued up in that list. And, you know, it's about study, learning, and it appears that Mountain Bear, oh, that's 4 months ago. It's all good. Mountain Bear is pretty epic too. It's doing pretty good. Alrighty. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And read the Bible for yourself. And it doesn't matter if you read the whole Bible, and you take 20 years to read the whole Bible, as long as you're reading it regularly. If you take 20 years to read the Bible, you just read 1 or 2 verses a day, and you just, you know, so and so begat so and so begat so and so. Let me think about that today. Then do that. But spend all day thinking about that if that's how you're going to read it. That's fine. Read it fast, read it slow, but read it. I wish I could come up with a great quote or something that rhymes with that, but oh well. All right, we'll watch this little video because this was weird too. This was weird too. I know I was saying goodbye, and some of you probably already left, but we'll show this one too. We'll show this one too because this is weird. This is really weird. And on this note, when this video is over, I will say arrivederci.
You see, here is the sea, Mr. Sanders, so calm and apparently unchanging, and yet it is part of my new conception about the nature of the world. At this same sea, many times in the past history of our Earth has rolled over the surfaces of the land masses, sweeping away all life and vegetation, and eventually returning again to its former bed.
This is the part of the biblical theory of the flood and the theory of people of other races.
Oh yes, this actual event, the last one, is recorded in all the sacred scriptures of all the old civilizations, from the Hindus to the Bible.
Mr. Foster, before we go on with that, you've made a number of predictions, scientific predictions, which you claim have come true. Now, what are those predictions, and how do you make this claim?
Well, they are all based on the new notion that the physical invariance principles of contemporary science are invalid. And I stated this first in a manuscript reviewed in Australia in 1954. And the validity of this statement was confirmed finally last year at Princeton, when the principle of time reversal invariance was found to be invalid.
Well, who accepts the fact that you have made these predictions accurately?
Well, the facts as such are undeniable and must be accepted because they're documented. And it was accepted as such at Oxford, at the Tasmanian University, and also at the National University. The facts as such are accepted, but the explanations and the new views as yet are not.
Do you mean to say that you reject all the basic principles of science established since Aristotle's day?
No, it does not mean that. I state and maintain that those concepts and interpretations of science, which are still based today on Aristotelian logic, have a certain purpose, but that is defined by a statement as that a spade is a spade or a fine chisel is a fine chisel. But these concepts are inadequate for a complete understanding of the real nature of the world.
How is it possible, Mr. Foster, that you as an individual can work out these theories when all the other established scientists have computers and all the money of governments behind them, and yet they apparently can't?
Well, I do not claim at all that it is due to my own intellect or to my own penetration. I have been deeply interested from early youth in the real nature of the world, and I held my own views and ideas. But many years ago, about 14 years ago, when I was challenging one of the fundamental conventional principles of science, I had a definite inspiration, not knowledge as such, but an indication and a guidance which I followed and which I worked very hard and to evolve into a new structure of understanding.
Inspirations are related to thoughts of genius. Do you think or consider yourself to be a genius?
No. I consider myself to be an ordinary, humble person who wants to serve mankind with what man has striven for from the beginning of consciousness, with truth and understanding of the world.
Well, now, one thing, you have a theory about the moon, and we expect to be able to get observable facts about the moon fairly soon. What is your theory?
Well, it is by now rather more than a theory. 10 or 11 years ago, I stated to various scientists that the moon is not a piece of rock, but it is a plasma phenomenon, cosmic plasma, and that this fact will eventually be confirmed. I made certain predictions which were already confirmed in 1958, and the situation now is coming close to a complete confirmation.
What will be the result if you're proved to be correct in your theories?
The result will be profound and decisive, because it will give proof that a complete reinvestigation of the laws of nature is necessary. Because if the moon is a plasma, no man will ever land on it. The soft landing attempts will all fail. That means that the mass of the moon is less, far less than is currently assumed. It's in a different state of energy, and it has far less mass. That means there is no more explanation for the tides. If the moon, for example, had only 1,000th part of its current mass, then the tides would only be 2 inches high under conventional theories instead of sometimes 14 feet. And that means that if it is proved that the moon is a plasma, then all gravitational theories are out, and a new concept of the cosmos and of its laws has to be evolved.
Aren't you being a bit adventurous, though, because you know that we're going to be able to test out your theories on the moon fairly soon?
Well, not anymore. 11 years ago, of course, it was rather taking a risk. I was considered a lunatic, of course, but by now the evidence, accumulated evidence, is already so much in my favor that I'm not taking any risks anymore. On the contrary, there is scientific views expressed all over the world now that the moon seems to be of a quite different nature of what was assumed.
But the Americans and Russians are thinking of landing men on it.
Well, that will never happen. Not on the moon. On Mars, on Venus, on other planets, yes, but the moon is definitely, as I assert, a plasma.
Isn't there a slight contradiction? You mentioned the moon and the tides, Mr. Foster, and at the earlier part of the interview you talked about the tides sweeping over the Earth.
Well, there is no contradiction there, because once the moon is proven not to be a piece of rock, but something of far less mass, and the gravitational theories are out and discarded, new concepts have to be involved which will show that the lawfulness of nature in the cosmos is identical to that in a hydrogen atom or in atomic processes. And when this is understood and worked out in full, it will be found that the physical processes of the Earth are quite different in geophysics of what is at present assumed, and that lawfully in certain periods, mostly during the ice ages, which occur every 200 million years, and there is a reason for that, the axis of the Earth suddenly tilts over. And when this happens, then you get the floods of the Bible, which were recorded before. The tides, the ordinary, everyday tides, have an explanation, even if the moon had almost no mass at all, because they are field effects. They're induced by cosmic pressures which exist in the field of our solar system.
What's the benefit to mankind in your theories?
Well, the first one, and the most important I would briefly put down, is this. I think it is a new conception about the nature of the cosmic world and about the nature and the veracity of consciousness, conscience, of morality. At present, we have a glaring contradiction in the assertions of fundamental science. Scientists assert that they are completely uninhibited in their pursuit of truth, that they're completely uninhibited in their pronouncements, and that they produce for mankind, out of their knowledge or understanding, means which man can use according to his moral nature. So if the scientist produces a television set or a jet motor car, or a hydrogen bomb, it is up to the common man then to use it in a manner which he finds according to his human nature. Yet, the very same processes of dialectics of science also declare that morality, concept of man's moral nature, is an illusion, that it is merely behaviorism or something due to conditioned reflexes or to herd instinct. And this, of course, is a contradiction which must be resolved and must go out. And it will be found as a consequence, what I had the privilege to see and to experience in my mind, that there is a moral law in the universe in which we partake and which is binding on us and which is decisive on our future. Now, in the practical aspects, when it is understood that the geophysical laws are quite different and that this tipping over of the Earth axis has occurred often, suddenly in the past, and will occur again, if the new view is elaborated, and I will not live long enough anymore to do that, it will be understood that the speed of light is not a universal constant as it is now the foundation of science, that it is changeable. And that perhaps 50 years before the next change of axis, there will be an increase in the speed of light. And if scientists will work out why and how, then there will be sufficient warning that mankind can prepare itself. Instead of building atom bomb shelters and hydrogen bombs by the millions, we will build provisions of making humanity floatable and to survive this crisis. So it comes again to the age-old concept that truth is the guidance, the hope, and the directive of the human mind, and that man must strive to understand and to know the real nature of the world.
Alrighty, guys. Buenas noches.